probably on YouTube. Cool.
Yeah. A lot of the classes I've been doing are on YouTube now. Not like all of the whole class usually, but still a lot of the subjects that I teach about are on there. If you want some introductory information about me or about the subject or something, there's some like really in-depth stuff that didn't go on there. But so today we're going to talk about projectors in human design, and we have a whole room of projectors, which is fun. So let's see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll just explain really briefly myself. So I'm a projector. I feel like we're like, hi, my name is. I'm a projector.
I've been a projector for 30 years.
And because you guys came to this class, you invited me to talk about the subject to you too. So, and I have 2 BA degrees. I have a master's degree in Vedic science. Everything I've learned has been esoteric, basically. I have certifications in a number of things like the empowerment process and Diksha energy and creative dance psychology and some other things like that. Ayurveda, I'm certified in Ayurveda. So I have a bunch of different areas of knowledge as far as health goes. That was basically my study. I was trying to figure out how do we keep people healthy. I wonder why I was trying to figure that out, because I'm a projector. We'll explain that later, right? So if you're in, let's very quickly go over my little model of health. So if you're in the physical body, which is where most of the society is usually, right? We're thinking about physical. Then you can do things like when people break an arm, you can go to the hospital and get it fixed, right? And that's kind of the area, the realm of the physical. There's people walking past, and we have a whole room of projectors, so if pretty soon we're going to just like close the doors or something so that we can have some energetic boundary. So what happens is, as you get more subtle, or as society gets more subtle, they start to look at what is at the basis, the subtle level of the physical, right? So like Eastern forms of medicine talk about energy and using herbs to kind of help you with your energy, which is on that line between the physical and the energetic, right? And then now, as a society, we're finally getting all excited about energy, right? Like people are doing Reiki, and everybody's pretty much starting to realize that it actually works, and that meditation is good, and yoga is good, and things that are either in the energy body or on that line between physical and energy, right? The next part is my favorite subject, emotions. And that is what happens. Yay, more projectors!
I gotta cut the traffic down. For reals.
Come on in. No, it's okay.
I was actually on
No,
time.
it was really bad on the freeway. I was like on there forever.
And
Ooh, and a manifesting
Your
generator.
bonus person.
She's like the only generator in the room. It's amazing. Yeah,
So
why
you
don't
want me
we
to sit next door?
You're on
we
the
can
same
like just shuffle? Yeah, like people. Put people. Maybe we should put Sharon on the end first.
I was gonna say, do you want me to sit in there?
No, you can sit there.
Hi, Kenneth.
Hi.
This is just my main spiel. You guys haven't missed anything yet.
Yeah.
So, when you get to the emotional body, then you start realizing that emotions cause things, right? Emotions create energy, which creates a physical body. Okay, so now finally people are starting to realize, oh, people who have a lot of emotional baggage often end up with cancer, for instance, right? There's a lot of studies about that now. So when we're not dealing with the emotions, they end up getting us in the end. That's basically my whole life mission statement right there. Okay, so now, then we get to the mental body, and the mental body is all about beliefs, right? On a deep level, you've got beliefs in here, but on a surface level of the mental body, you've got like your thoughts that you have every day, or things that go through your head when you're driving, and if you're putting in affirmations in there, whatever else you're doing, then it's on this level of the mental body, right? And then when you get closer in here to your soul, so this is your soul, by the way. This is the area of your beliefs, which basically is pretty much the same as your karma. Because your beliefs create your karma. Because you create your own reality, and so all of your actions create a reaction. And I don't want to go into this too in depth, but this is my philosophy, so I would start with it. And if you have questions, you're always welcome to ask me, for sure. There's another little chart over there. So, and we're going to talk about this again with projectors, actually, because if projectors deal with this inner stuff, then the outer stuff gets taken care of so easily. I was hoping that your daughter might come, Daria, too.
Oh, she couldn't. She had other plans.
That would be so fun. Her daughter's a projector also. So, if your projector, for instance, if our projectors are dealing with our beliefs, our deep beliefs right here, and clearing out our karma that way, and dealing with the emotional baggage that's stuck to it, then we could be really pretty close to healthy, because we have a little bit harder time being healthy sometimes than other people. Okay? It's not like we're always going to be sick or anything like that. It's just we need to be more sensitive to ourselves than the average generator needs to. The average generator needs to get up in the morning and go to work. And they're usually the ones who are like, no, I don't want to. And we're like, I'm up, I'm ready to work. And then like 2 or 3 or 4 hours later, we're like, I'm a little tired. Okay, so that is my physical model. We'll get away from that, and then we'll get back to it, because let me tell you, it goes everywhere. Everything goes back to that. Okay, so that's how to be healthy. Okay, human design is a system that this guy who named himself Ra Uru cognized when he was on an island off the coast of Spain called Ibiza, and he heard a voice. So basically, everyone in this room, even our manifesting generator, are pretty open-minded. We're okay with the fact that he heard a voice and created a whole system from it, because we're projectors, right? And the thing about that is just, it was probably intuitive. He was a manifester, and it's really hard to explain otherwise, scientifically or anything else, right? There's 64 aspects of the I Ching that are gates in your human design. The Kabbalah, the chakra system, and astrology are all in use there too. So when your planets go into your body graph in human design instead of a astrological chart, so instead of houses, there are planets that go into gates. And you'll see those, when you look at your chart, you'll see little purple round dots in different numbers, and those are planets in different gates of yours. So you can have planets in certain gates where you don't have a center defined, but that's because you didn't have like the connecting gate or something. So then you still have a little bit going on in that center. You still have something that you're working with probably, but you don't have the whole center, so you're not using that in your energy the same way. You don't have the same energy there that somebody else who has that center has. Okay? So that's a really, really brief about human design. I think the best thing about human design is because it helps us really understand how to use our body energy system. Like, how are we going to go through our life with this vehicle, as they call it in human design. Okay, we have a vehicle, which is our body and our energy, and that's kind of what they're talking about, is these two outer ones, right? The physical and emotional, I just erased it, but... So that's the vehicle, and then... Okay, so I'll come back. So, sorry, not physical and emotional, physical and energetic. And then this part is your passenger, or your soul, your personality, your individuality. Okay, this is your individuality on the realm of, like, how does your energy actually flow? Like, when you came into this life, this is the structure you were given, not just, like, that it looks like this on the physical realm, but also it looks like the body graph that I will draw now for you on the energetic realm. That's one way of looking at it. Okay, so you have your little person, right, which I'm going to do a really bad job of drawing. And then you have all these centers. That's a horrible triangle, Hillary. And so you have like, you have the one up here on the 7th chakra, you've got the 6th chakra, you've got this throat center, right? You've got your heart center and your ego center. By the way, I'm teaching class in the ego center next week. If you do have the ego center, it is this one, not that one. I think there's some confusion sometimes about that. It's the little one that's the ego center. And then you have your intuition, right? And you have your emotions. And you have your sacral and your root. Okay, it doesn't look that great, but did I miss anything, anybody? Okay, so you have ways to connect all up to all these different things too. So this is the thing. When you get this, and it doesn't look like this, but when you get this, that's where you came into this life with energy to use in this lifetime. It doesn't mean that on some other level or some other dimension you don't have energy in all these other places too. But like, for instance, you could be like this huge soul and you have like you're running a couple bodies at a time or something, maybe. I'm gonna blow your minds. But then, so maybe your other person has some of the energy that you don't have. I don't know. But the point is that whatever you came in with in this lifetime, with the energy that you're going to use in this lifetime, it's important what you look like, even if you're blank, like even if you have like no root, for instance, right? That's important because you need to learn how to work with that because there's an openness there, and the openness can be vulnerability, but it can also be an open, like, you know, how we say people are open-minded or open-hearted. All that stuff is good, too, right? So you have to kind of look at where you're open, where you're closed, and where you have energy, and how it flows together. Like, are you one person? Are you single definition? You only one personality? Or are you two personalities, like you're split? That can be a problem, right? Because you want to try to unify your personalities. Some of your split, right? So then you want to try to be in both of your circuits at once if you can, eventually. That's your goal. Okay, but we're going to talk today about the types, about being a projector, and that's one of the types. And your different types in human design are manifestors, projectors, generators, and reflectors. Oh, and you can have manifesting generators, but they are technically still just generators. Okay. I put projectors up there just because we're all projectors. I had to put this up there, right? Okay, so manifestors are like, okay, let's see. Projectors are 20% of the population. Generators are 70%. Reflectors are supposed to be like 1%. I don't know about manifesting generators because they go into here in the 70%. But the manifestors then, so then you'd have like, I mean, technically it should be more than 5%. So I don't know why they always say that. I've heard like 3% manifestors, and that doesn't add up to 100% is the problem. So if you have 90% 1, okay. So then this would be like supposed to be like 8, right? 7 or something?
8. That's the number I got. 8.
Oh, you got that somewhere?
Yeah,
Oh, good. I'm
yeah.
glad somebody said that instead of I was getting 3 sometimes or 5 or. Okay, so it's not that important, right? The important thing is that obviously there's more generators than everybody else. So that's the world that we're living in, even if we are reflectors, projectors, or manifestors, right? So that's why we're having a little support class tonight for projectors, because There's more of us than manifestors and reflectors, but there's definitely way less of us than generators, right? And the other thing is we're here to help generators, and we're here to get invited to help generators. So that's a really big deal, because the other thing in human design that's really important is strategy. Okay, let's see if I can do this without erasing. Okay, so a manifestor's strategy is to inform. Okay. A projector's strategy is to get invited. A generator's strategy, or wait for the invitation, is the better way of putting it. And a generator's strategy is to respond. Reflectors, I don't think they have a strategy, actually. There's so few of them that I haven't studied them as much.
They mirror
They just
society.
mirror. Yeah. And their strategy is like to just try to take care of themselves, I think. Because they have they have no energy centers at all. Okay? None of it. This is all open for them. So all of you guys that are projectors with like a couple centers, think about if you've had none at all. It's that kind of feeling. Okay, so manifesting generators, everybody thinks they have a different strategy. They don't. They're still responding, but they can decide what they want, write it down, and then wait to respond. So it's a little bit manifestorly. Okay. So the important thing for the projector is to wait for the invitation, and that is more difficult in some ways than for generators, right? Because a generator responds to the environment, like they go to the coffee shop and the coffee is $3 or whatever, and so they pay the $3. Like, and somebody behind the counter says, "Hey, I heard you have this business," and they're like, "Yeah," and they give them their business card. It's like that easy, kind of. Okay, it shouldn't be hard for generators to respond. If they're having trouble responding, there's just an energy blockage of some kind. Projectors need to get recognized so they can get invited, and it will also happen. It's not like it's never going to happen, because I know that sometimes it feels like it's never going to happen, but it will happen. It shouldn't be that hard either, but it takes longer. It takes a little longer, okay, than waiting to respond, obviously, because you need to be invited pretty much by a person, you know. It's like, or maybe like an organization or a company or something, but it's like a human invitation, you know? It's not the same. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody has to come up to you and like give you like this written invitation to do something. I don't want you to think that. It's like, really, it doesn't, Ben's laughing because I had a moment with Ben like that where he was like, "But she didn't invite me though, technically." And I was like, no, if she was like, "Yeah, I like you," or whatever, right, then it's invitation, okay? There are some things that are invitations still that are obviously invitation, like you will know, right? And you have to use your authority to know. Okay, so we're going to talk about your authority. Your authority is on your chart also, and it does not, it's not the same for every projector, okay? You could have intuitive authority, which is what I am, so I'll make sure that you guys understand that if you're intuitive authority. You could have emotional authority. I know a couple of you in this room are emotional. I'm pretty sure that's about the most. I don't think
Self-projected.
you're self-projected?
Yeah.
Okay, that happens very rarely. Oh man, that is very rare. Okay, we'll put that down. I don't know if I can help you as much on that one. Okay. Self-projected authority, it's like, I think it's kind of about being, just being yourself, the self, and getting invited, you know? Sometimes there's an ego authority too, but I don't think that it's usually a projected thing.
What's
Okay.
you? No, you're
I'm
yeah,
an intuitive.
but you have the ego, right?
I have the ego center, yes. We are doing a class on ego center next week here, like I said, because that's that's only 30% of the population also. So if you have the ego center, try to show up if you can, and make sure that you'll be happy. Because that has its own challenges too. Sometimes people project on people with the ego center too, actually. So if you're a projector with the ego center, people project on us all the time. Like that's like woohoo, projection land, you know? So if you're a projector with the ego center, you gotta work on any guilt you have. Because we have to know that all of that stuff that other people are projecting on us is not actually our fault. And so we gotta feel the guilt and release it that way. Okay, so, alrighty. So let's talk first about energy, because that's so important, right? That's like really important for us. And that has a lot to do with how we get invited too. Okay? And I'm gonna make sure everybody at the end gets to answer any questions they have. Oh, I didn't talk about the authorities though, and the self-projected authority staring me in the face because I'm like, I don't know how one goes through life with that one. Really, I'd like to study it more in depth with you. I think I know like one other person like that. I don't think I've seen anybody else's chart like that, but it does happen sometimes. It's almost like there's not a reliable authority besides yourself. Like it's more vague for me right now, at least, but maybe after studying. The intuitive authority is like, okay, how do you get invited? How do you manage your energy? You gotta use your intuition all the time, okay? With an emotional authority, how do you get invited? How do you manage your energy? You gotta wait through the emotional cycle, okay? Okay, so with an emotional authority, you can't make any decisions for 3 days. With an intuitive authority, you only have intuition in the now. You only know what is true right now. So these are different, right? You see that?
So I'm doing this on behalf of my son, who
Yeah.
has the splenic authority. So
Yes, too bad we couldn't get him here, huh? Yeah,
he's,
splenic authority. Yeah, that's intuitive.
Okay.
That's what it's called.
That's
If you
fine.
see any in your chart, sorry, it will be called splenic if it's intuition. And then you will be called an emotional projector if you have an emotional authority. So it'll be really obvious.
So that's
Oh, it'll say solar plexus also. They just have names for the centers. Like, this is the solar plexus. And this is the spleen. And the cool thing is, they're very balanced there, right? So most of us in this room have one of those two as our authority. Notice it is not up here, right? In human design, the mind is not an authority. You cannot tell the truth from the mind. You can't. Your thoughts do not mean anything. I mean, you can learn things and it can go through your mind. You can use your mind to solve problems, but in terms of how to live, like what's the next thing I should do right now or that somebody else should do, not an authority. Not a good resource. So it's always down here lower, okay? And a lot of generators have this one here as their authority, the sacral, and then they just have like a yes or a no. And it's kind of like having intuition, but it's more simple. It's just like yes or no. If you are a projector with intuitive authority, you have like, what should I do right now? The color pink, right? At first, that's how it feels when you're an intuitive projector, okay? You're like, I don't know, it seems kind of abstract. Like, okay, but the more that you work with it, the more it becomes like, no, okay, wait, what does the color pink mean to me? Like, just keep following. You keep following it, you go down the rabbit hole and follow it until you get to the real, like, what is it? You know, yeah, I'm supposed to go to Starbucks right now or whatever, right? Okay, so that's what you do. You have to work and you have to use this. Practice makes perfect. Okay. Now, some of you could have this one and this one, but only one of them is your authority, right? So that just makes things more complicated because you have kind of two sets of data coming in that you probably want to use. If you have both of these, then you probably want to use your emotions to make decisions. Not a good idea. And if you have, see, even if you're an emotional authority, you shouldn't use your emotions to make decisions, right? You gotta wait through a whole 3 days because the 3 days is the amount of time that it takes for the moon to go through a different sign, right? The moon goes through a different sign every 3 days. So that's why you can know what it is that you want, but then that's fine. Then wait for 3 days and then do whatever it is, right? Because if you really want it, then you'll still want it in 3 days. It's just a way of knowing for sure that you want that, or that it's true for you.
Does that hold true if you don't have that center?
If you don't have this, then you don't have to worry about this in the same way. Okay, if you don't have this, you have to process emotions because you're getting feelings from the universe and from everybody around you.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to be constantly like, what am I feeling right now? And am I making this decision based on emotion? You don't have to do that, because if you're an intuitive, then you need to be in the store and go, which direction should I go? That way. Like that. It's really weird. It seems very complicated or abstract for people who don't have that authority, but it makes so much sense to people who do have that authority. It seems right, you know? It's like, no, if I just follow my intuition, I'll do the right thing. And actually, that's the way of always knowing, you know, what to do. I mean, it's become increasingly obvious to me, especially when I was really sick a couple days ago. It was like, I was using my intuition, even just like, should I drink this fluid right now? How much of it should I drink? You know, like, just really simple questions you need to use your intuition for everything if you're intuitive authority. Everything. Because that is the way, I mean, you really do know what's right. You know what's got to happen if you got this. You just need to tap into it and trust it. Trust, trust, trust. Okay? The more you use it, the more you trust it, the more you can use it easier because it's more obvious then. Some of you have intuition in your chart, but it's not your authority.
Right.
So that's an interesting situation, right? Because you've got intuition, you could use it, but it's not supposed to be your method of truth. It's kind of like God said, yeah, you have intuition, Ben. I'm going to use you as an example again. But I really want you to learn how to make sure you're wading through that emotional cycle, though. I really want to make sure that you understand emotions, you know? So it's like, that's your authority, even though you could go in here, you could use your intuition, and it's good to always, like, use whatever you've got, you know? If that's one of your centers, you got to use it, because otherwise it's like you don't use it, and it kind of gets moldy and stale, like it develops like an energetic kind of block after a while if you don't use it. So, and if you don't have intuition, guys, then you have the universal, you are open to universal intuition, which is a good thing and a bad thing. When you are open to universal intuition, collective intuition, that means you're using the intuition of the society, you're using the intuition of people around you, you're also using the intuition, the immune system. Let's talk about that. The spleen is the immune system and also the intuition. So if you're open here, then you have more likelihood of having like allergies to things or having immune problems, especially those that signify our society's like problems in general. So it's like society's like putting too much soybean oil and everything. This was an actual case of one of my clients, okay? Society uses soy for everything, right? When they make hamburgers and every time they process anything, there's soy in it. So then if you don't have this, you maybe can't digest soy and you have no allergy to soy, and then soy's in everything, so you have to just eat non-processed foods. You can't even eat anything that's been processed at all then. Okay, that's like an example. My sister doesn't have this. It's not as extreme as that for her, but she had allergies growing up and I didn't. So when you're using the intuition of society too, you just want to check. You want to see if you can check it through whatever your authority is and whatever else you've got in your chart. Okay, because the intuition of God, great, right? Intuition of society, not, sometimes good, sometimes not, maybe. Okay, so, But the emotional thing, if you are emotional projector, then you really gotta focus on the emotions. And the reason is that everybody who's emotional thinks that they have no emotions, for one thing. Okay. And if you focus on what is the feeling I'm feeling right now, you start to understand what it is that you're feeling right now. Because everybody with that emotional center is feeling something at every moment. Okay. Because you're connected to the moon, and the moon is transmitting feelings to you. It's like that. Like, just imagine, like, if you had, like, a radar to the moon, you know, like a a sensor thing, and the moon's transmitting you feelings, okay? Now, the other thing is, if you've got, okay, everybody's got emotions, they're attached to their beliefs, right? Remember my little circle chart? You've got all these belief body, like, you've got this whole belief body structure. I mean, unless you're, like, at the 7th stage of enlightenment or something, okay? Then you have this. And that has emotions attached to it. And that is emotions in your body. That's like emotions like in your mind, body, your mind, energy, and body. Okay, they're like stuck in there. And then when you do like deep like karma releasing, like belief releasing stuff, it gets rid of those emotions, okay? And then when you have this emotional motor, you have another layer of emotions, and that's like the layer of emotions of like, what's the flavor of the week? Like, what's the flavor of the moment? What's the flavor of the day? This Wednesday at this hour has this feeling to it, okay? I don't have an emotional motor, so I don't totally understand it from the gut level, but it's true, though. I think that people came in with the emotional level, with the emotional motor, to understand that life is an emotional experience. That only when we are in a body, a physical body, do we get to have emotions in this way, actually. So when we're refusing to experience it, we're refusing to experience ourselves, and we're refusing to have the experience we came in to have, too. And I have to say that emotional motor people can be extremely exciting to be around. They have a lot of passion, they have a lot of, like, color to everything, and if you're open to admitting and accepting and loving whatever feeling you have in every moment, then everybody else around you is like, woo! Like, they're like inspired because there's all these different colors and experiences they get to have by being around you. Okay, so they get to be like having an experience from being with you because they're an open center with that emotion. They have an open emotional center, right? But if you're like, no, I don't have any feelings like that, then they're feeling all of your feelings. And they're like, what the hell is going on? You know? And maybe like, I think they're mad at me. Or maybe like, I think there's something wrong in this whole group, or, you know, something like that. Okay? So all of this stuff that's going on here, if it can be opened up to, like, because it's a part of you, so if you're closing it off, then you're saying, I don't like part of myself. If it can be opened up to and loved, just like all the little parts of ourselves that need to be loved, then it can be a gift that you're giving to the whole world, that emotional experience, you know, it creates great art, the emotional experience, right, creates like wonderful feminine stuff, okay, it's the whole feminine side of things. And we don't understand femininity or emotions, generally speaking, in our society yet, so that's why it's like, you know, one of the bigger challenges we have to face usually. Okay. So if you have the emotional authority, you've got to journal what you're feeling, okay? And it was funny, right? Because Sharon was in this class where we talked about the emotional. They had a whole class about the emotional center, and Sharon was in it, and I told there were only a couple of people who had the emotional center, right? And people who didn't have the emotional center, we went and we did, like, I feel this feeling, I accept this feeling, I love this feeling. Okay, everybody else was told to journal their feelings, like, in a 24-hour period. Like, what did I feel then? What did I feel when I did this? What did I feel when I did that? And both of them were like, I don't think we have any feelings, really. And then they wrote down, I'm just using you as an example, because it's totally typical.
Yeah.
And I came back, and I said, so what did you write down? And then they read us their journal, which was very open of them, And it was like, I felt this when this happened, then I felt this, then I felt this, then I felt, and it was like, wow, you guys had a lot of feelings. And those of us, especially like the projectors without the emotional, we were like, whoa, like, I think Joe was saying that she really had gone through that experience with Sharon, like,
Yeah.
right? She's like, whoa, I really, like, got that whole, that's the thing, right, when you write a story or when you have a movie or something, you need all that emotional input, like, you need that emotional, like, energy, right? And the emotional motor is a source of energy when you're on a high, okay? When you're on a low, guys, most of you, when you're on an emotional low, if you have this one, you just kind of, like, do this to yourself, like, because it's like there's an emotional low, and so there's a anti-energy, it's like blocking off your other energy. So when you're on emotional high, you're like, yay, let's go to the grocery store and buy everything. And when you're on emotional low, you're like, I don't want to buy anything ever. And it's just an extreme situation, I'm extremely exaggerating. Everybody's like that, right? Everybody has emotions. It's not like you don't have emotions if you don't have the emotional motor. It's just that these people have two levels of them, okay? And if you don't have the emotional motor, you just have the emotions that are like in your body, kind of like in your emotional body, and stuck to your beliefs, that kind of stuff, okay? So your experience in that case is a little more dry, like you wake up in the morning, you're like, no, so it's pretty good. It's okay, yeah, But there's like kind of a clarity, but it's kind of dry, okay? People with this, when they wake in the morning, I think it's like, oh, or yay, or, there's like a lot of different feelings that can happen just from waking up, right? So, it's just a challenge to observe yourself and accept yourself, okay? And when you've got that emotional motor, use that emotional energy for something good too. Like, use it when you're on that emotional high, then go do the stuff that you want to do because you're so projectors and you don't have as much energy as other people, right? So, if you're an intuitive, you can't get your energy from the intuition, okay? But you do have a good immune system. And that means if you're around people that are sick or whatever, okay, you're going to survive a little longer before you get sick. But you're still a projector. So don't push it. Like, don't, stay up all night. You've got to get sleep and stuff. You've got to still take care of yourself, because otherwise it's still going to get to you eventually. Okay, because you don't have the energy. My recent experience with being sick was, okay, the kid got sick that I was babysitting. Actually, he didn't really get sick. He was just carrying it. He was a manifesting generator with intuition, with the immune system. So he had tons of energy and immunity. And he was just kind of really cranky. We were like, there's something wrong with him. And then his mom with no immune system got sick. Then I got sick, right? Because I've got the immune system and I've got this energy down here, but I'm a projector. I only have 3 centers, and I was over. And then his dad got sick. I think his dad's a generator with probably more centers than we do have. So anyway, and the funny thing is he never got sick, really. The kid didn't. So those are in authorities, okay? Authorities are how we make decisions, how we get everything to happen in our life. So it's really, really important that you follow your authority. That's one of the most important things. Energy for a projector. Okay. So to have energy, there's so many things that you can do, right? We gotta follow take care of all of the bodies as projectors, because we don't have that sacral center, the one that was right here. We don't have that one. That's what usually gives people all their energy as far as generators. So we have to manage our energy, okay? If we manage our energy, we don't get sick as much, we're happier, and we live longer, okay? So, yeah. The thing is that's funny, I think, is that projectors that manage their energy can look better, live longer than generators, okay? If they don't manage their energy, they're out of here way faster. Do you understand how, extreme it is? So, generators have a tendency to just assume they've got tons of energy and they can just do everything, so that eventually starts to get to them, I mean, eventually it's like, oh, I can't really do everything, and, but it takes a long time. There's like this like just general kind of foundational feeling of being able to handle a lot of different stuff, okay? For me, with only 3 centers, right, as a projector, I don't have that foundational feeling, actually, even though I have this root motor. So for a long time, I thought that I had the energy of a generator. But it was like really, I figured it out pretty soon. So you don't have that foundational feeling that you're going to be able to handle a million things and that you can like, drive like 9 hours and then like do energy work on somebody and then, stay up and only get 3 hours of sleep or something. All that stuff that like maybe a manifest generator would think, oh yeah, I could do that,
Done that.
I love it that we have a manifest generator in here. It's like the balances it out, the opposite. So if a manifest generator does that stuff though, eventually, if they keep living like that, right, then they're gonna get sick. Then, because human beings aren't really set up to live that way, right? We're supposed to like do one thing at a time. We're supposed to figure out what our energy is good for and put it into that, like what it is that we're here to do, our dharma, our divine job, right? It's another way of managing your energy, actually, but we'll get to that. But manifesting generators will just they'll be able to deal with some bad habits for longer, or generators would they'd be able to, like, my boyfriend gets like 4 hours of sleep a night or something. He's a generator, obviously, because if I have 4 hours of sleep, I could do that for one night, guys. One night, right? And then I'm going to be totally, like, toast. Like, I won't be able to speak anymore. I won't be able to drive. I'll lose things. I'll forget things. I won't be able to, like, I won't have read the sign. You know what I mean? So and then I'm going to get sick eventually, too. So that's a big problem. So we have to get enough sleep. Okay, so we're in the physical body first, right? This is not the right pen. Okay, when you're in the physical body, you want to talk about things like sleep, food, one of the Ayurvedic way of looking at it, there's a 3 pillars rule as far as the physical, and it's sleep, food, and meditation, or sex, depending on who you talk to. I think, let's put spiritual exercises down there, because being open to God, this is the wrong pen also, being open to God actually gives you more energy, okay? And that's even pretty physical, right? So we'll put that down there in parentheses. That's kind of more of an energetic thing. We're going to get to the energy body in a second. Exercise is my 3rd one. And then there's just stuff like making, like, your physical environment, right? Like, what kind of radio waves and different kinds of waves are you around, right? There's all sorts of environmental toxins now, right? Okay. I'm going to put herbs down here too, because in Western medicine they give you medication, right? How many projectors in this room have had some kind of like reaction they didn't like to medication before? Okay, so medication's really strong, right? It's really like quite, like, some of that medication can really knock you out. So the thing is, projectors are pretty subtle people. We don't need that much medication. we need herbal medicine usually if we're gonna have physical medicine, because herbal medicine or aromatherapy or, okay, I'm getting it all into like energy already, but when we get, so like with energy therapies, you could even have like crystals and all that kind of stuff, right? Flower essences. That's pretty energetic. It's pretty close to not being physical anymore. And crystal or rock essences, right? And let's see. Okay. Okay, so does everybody understand all this stuff? Like, I'm not saying if you're a projector that you can't be like in rooms with Wi-Fi or whatever. Like, we're gonna have to deal with a certain amount of environmental toxins just from being alive, right? The thing that you want to try to start doing is cutting out excess toxins out of your food or your home if you can, like where you can even there's these things you can get, like these weird grounding mats you can put underneath in your house, like, and you can
They're like magnetic, right?
Yeah,
there's one that goes and it like attaches to the ground outside, like you actually there's where you're actually like grounding, like you're attaching to the ground. And then you stand on that or you sit on that when you're wherever you are in your house, okay? I'm going to put that in energy. So the energy of the earth is way better for us than, like for instance, probably getting rid of your microwave is a good thing. Not to bother some, I know. This is Ayurveda and other forms of medicine hate microwaves, you guys. They take the energy out of your food. And the biggest deal for you as projectors is to get as much energy as you can out of your food. Like, get fresh, wholesome, organic food if you can, okay? It's not going to be the end of your life necessarily if you don't, right? It's just a better idea than the other stuff. Now, especially if you do not have a spleen or the intuitive center, you have way less choice, okay? You have to eliminate toxins. Do you get that? Like, if you have the spleen, then you kind of have this energy where your immune system goes in and fights off all the toxins that you're putting in your body. And that's a gift and a curse, because after a while you're like, wow, I'm eating bad food sometimes because I can just get away with it, right? And it's like, that's not really doing a great thing for your health overall still, even if you have the immune system, right? You're not getting energy from that. You're just not getting sick maybe from it. So, the food being fresh, eliminating toxins however you can, especially if you don't have the immune system. Okay, sleep. Projectors need more sleep than generators, right? I swear I want you guys to tell me how much sleep you get. Like, let's start with Lana. We'll skip over Sharon since she's our token.
9 hours.
Huh?
I'm sleeping like 9 hours.
Awesome, Ben.
I'm changing. No, I used to go to sleep at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, but it's I'm aiming for 1 o'clock in the morning right now, and on and off it's 9 hours.
Good. Okay, that's way better. And
I'm
Shan.
terrible. I don't sleep well at all,
Uh-huh.
and I can have like 6 hours and go to work and
Yeah.
work all day, and then come home and then I crash.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are tired though after
I'm
that.
tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can still keep going.
But you're like an insomniac, like you don't sleep well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that because that's actually normal too. My mom's a projector with insomnia too.
I'm about 7 or 8, and I'm good with that.
Okay.
I feel okay.
I would challenge you to just try getting more sleep
I
and see
can't.
what happens.
I can't sleep anymore.
Oh.
Wake up.
Yeah.
So
I'm awake.
then try going to sleep earlier.
Okay. I'm already going to bed at 9.
I'm only this hardcore with you guys about this because it's one of the biggest things that I've noticed affects your projectorliness, okay? Like, my experience, especially as a projector with lots of sleep versus hardly any sleep, is like night and day. And that's, when I've talked to other projectors, that's what they say too.
9.
9.
Nine
Yes.
is good.
Okay.
But
That is
I
so
do
foreign
have
to me. It really is.
Yeah,
I can't sleep that long.
Yeah.
It's too, my back
It's like
hurts.
6 hours.
I toss and turn at night a lot though too.
You guys
Yeah.
both don't have the root motor, right?
I don't, yeah.
Yeah, that's partly why you get up, I think. Because there's, when you have that connection to the earth like that, sometimes people can sleep longer for some reason. So,
I get up when the sun gets up.
yeah, the only option is to go to bed earlier, I think.
I'm awake by 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Or to take naps. Or you can
I
take
can do
naps.
that. I do that sometimes.
Yeah. My grandmother was probably projector. She took a nap every day at 3. I mean, this is, of course, I knew her when she was retired or whatever, but she didn't really, she was of the older generation. She didn't really work that much anyway. But still, even though she had a life of not working, she still had to take a nap every day, okay? So that's something for us to learn from, maybe. If you don't meditate on a regular basis, like as a practice, then taking a nap or doing yoga or something, super important. Or Tai Chi. Tai Chi, yoga, some kind of stretching. I think still that the Tai Chi and yoga don't replace the meditation and sleeping, because meditation and sleeping have that like deep restful effect, where you're not moving. But if you only have 15 minutes, then do some stretching or something, because that is going to help your energy start to flow a little bit better, right? And you want to get that like long stretch, like stay in a stretch for a long time, like how a cat does, because that's how they rejuvenate themselves, and also cats sleep 15 hours or something, right? So actually, cats are a good subject, because cats are good animals for projectors. Let's put it in the physical. The reason why is because they absorb negative energy. You guys go around and you take in the energy of all the generators around you. So some of that comes home with you. And so there's like you can feel it when sometimes there's like more disturbance in your aura, or kind of like heaviness, or when you just feel totally clear and fine, and more rested, kind of. So when you have that disturbance or heaviness, or you have any kind of health problems, actually cats will even go and sit on your health problems too. Your like whatever hurts or whatever, they'll go and they're good role models, because we should try to be more like them, because they sleep a lot. They don't overly excessively like put themselves out for you, right? They never put. That's how projectors should be, because we're going around going, oh, let me help you. Can I help you? And it's like we have no energy and we're trying to give something we don't even have any of. Okay. So the cat is a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, I had
Okay.
a cat who would come when I do self Reiki. Whatever was hurting, she'd get up and like lay on that spot.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Reiki cat.
She was a partner, a Reiki partner. Does anybody have any questions about this physical stuff? You are subtle people, so you do not need heavy medication. In fact, it will probably screw you up in some way if you have that medication. So I would try going for something subtler. Herbs are more subtle than medication. Aromatherapy and flower essences are more subtle than herbs. Okay? In fact, I'd probably say flower essences are more subtle than herbs. Aromatherapy is more subtle than that. Rock essences are around that same level. Okay? Yeah, like gemstone essences. You can do that. It's very subtle. You might not be able to feel it at first, but everything that goes in here, anything that comes within like a certain mile radius of us, I think. Like anything that comes within, a few rooms of us, we are absorbing. Okay? So let's talk about that actually, because we didn't really go into that. So here's the projector, okay? So there's generators putting out sacral energy, and we're taking it in, okay? And then we're putting it back out at them, because that's part of what we do to help them, which they don't always like,
And then
right?
they hate us for some reason.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Or they think we're like rock gods, but that doesn't happen quite as often. But usually they either hate us or love us because they're getting back their own energy, you know? And quite often, what's going to help them the most, you guys? For what if they needed to be helped in a way that was energetic, right? Them getting back all of the stuff that they're not looking at, all of the stuff that they are not okay with, and because they're not okay with it, it becomes negative, right? That is how we help them. So that's why we have to be
energy.
You give it back to them in an energetic way.
yes. Their energy gets cycled through us, literally. Okay? So if you're sleeping, oh yeah, let's talk about sleep again with 9 hours. That was my yay 9 hours, okay? If you're sleeping and you're lying next to a generator, okay, you're taking in all their energy and putting it back out of them. Taking all their energy and putting it back out of them all night, like that. Because you don't have a sacral motor and they do. So it's just coming in and going out like that. It doesn't mean you can't sleep. I mean, sometimes I can get some good sleep next to a generator, okay? But especially a generator that loves you, right? But the thing is, you have to kind of take it into account in your mind, though. You have to be aware of it, okay? Because you're not going to get the same quality of sleep as if you were by yourself or sleeping next to a projector or a manifestor. Because you're doing something for that generator when you're with them, even if they don't know it. So if you're invited by them and loved by them, then it's going to be better, okay? Never get into bed with a generator who does not invite you or does not love you, you guys. Because it's even worse because then you're like taking an energy that's like negative because they're not giving you like energy from their heart, you know? Okay. So this is what happens with energy. So this also happens with the with the whole society, collective, people, universe, okay? You're living on planet Earth, okay? So we're taking in all the energy of planet Earth also. And putting that out all the time. It's not quite as dramatic as it sounds maybe, but it's definitely a thing. That's why not only do we not have our own energy center, but it's like we get tired after being out in the world. Like, right? Go to a mall. How do you guys feel when you go to the mall? If I go to like Art and Fair Mall, at first I'm like, yeah, this is fun, right? And then like after like an hour, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so tired. I really don't want to be here anymore. And it's just ignoring yourself if you keep pushing past that point, okay? That's the point of no return, you guys, when you're like, okay, it's not fun for me to be here anymore. The reason why it's not fun is because it's literally sapping your energy, you know? And all of those people, like, that are around you, you're taking in stuff from them, right? If you have an open head center,
Is there a way that you can protect yourself?
Huh?
Is there a way to protect yourself?
I believe the only true protection is by getting rid of beliefs and emotions that you don't need. Because they won't stick to you. Then stuff doesn't stick to you anymore. It still cycles through you, but it doesn't stick to your own, like, jagged vibrations in there, right? If you have your own jagged vibrations in here, then other people's are going to stick to yours. Because that's kind of the law of attraction, you know? That's like... So, if you get rid of your, like, deep programming and your deep emotional baggage, then it just cycles through you, and then, you know, you'll get tired fast, maybe, still, a little bit, but it's not going to be a big deal. You just go somewhere else, or you just go take a nap or whatever. Okay? So, all your questions. With the beliefs and the emotions, let's talk about that. If you have an open head center, so your centers look like this, they're white instead of they're colored, then you're especially susceptible to all of the beliefs of society, okay? all of planet Earth's energy is going in to you, and you believe what they believe, right? Because you have an open head center. This is like, I want this to sound kind of serious, okay? Because if you take it really serious, then it starts to be like a manageable situation, and you start to work on it, and it starts to, but it's like, if you don't take it seriously, it's like, I told a generator today with Open Head Center that she needs to, like, you know, just check, like, how does her mental situation feel when she visits her daughter? How does it feel when she visits her mom, okay? Okay, she has all of her own energy centers down here, though. And she's not taking in other people's energy like we are. So it is kind of extreme. It's kind of extreme to the point where when I do belief processes on myself now, I almost feel like it's like I'm doing it on myself because I have the feeling or whatever, but it's so obviously that I'm doing it for a larger group of people, okay? When we work on our own beliefs and our own feelings, we're doing something for everyone else, whether we like it or not. We're doing it for them anyway. We've done a service to everyone by coming in this way with this kind of energy system. So if we work on our beliefs and our feelings, it's going to help other people too. And that's the good part, right? They affect us, we affect them. Like that. Oh, and by the way, if you're cold, tell me because I can turn up
That's
the
okay.
heat too.
No, you don't have to do that.
Okay. Exercise, don't do aerobics unless you've got one of these root motors, okay? I'm not saying, like, never do aerobics. There's no hard and fast rules. It's not like, you know, all of life is awesome. You're still a human being. You know, everything is you, okay? But if you do exercise every day and you're a projector, don't do aerobics every day unless it's, like part of something that's, you know, like it's not all aerobics. You know what I'm saying?
Unless it's fun.
Okay, if you're having a good time, then yeah, that's great. But if you just gotta be careful that make sure that you're really having a good time the whole time. That you're not, like, pushing yourself to do it. Because if you're pushing yourself, it has an energy of, like, right? And then after, when you're done, you're kind of like wiped out. And if you're really having a good time, then you're like, yes, afterwards. Okay? And you have a root motor, too. So there's, like, a physical connection. When you have that root motor, there's a connection to the body that people without the root motor don't have. So, like, there's this feeling of having some physical energy that needs to be used. Okay? So that's okay, but just check that aerobics are not depleting you. Just check it out for yourself. Just make sure. I tell projectors, especially if they don't have the root motor, I tell them to do yoga, tai chi, dance, do other kinds of exercise that make you feel happy, that do not deplete you. Okay? Don't do depleting forms of exercise. Generally a good rule. Do exercise that after you're done, you're like, yes, I can go conquer the world now. Okay? We have a lot of conditioning, right? That's what we were talking about up here with the Open Head Center and with this whole Earth thing. They have a lot of conditioning about what we should do, what's right to do. We've been living in a generator world, and we think that we're supposed to be like them. That's why we think we should wake up really early, not get very much sleep, go work all day, and then come home and do aerobics or whatever, right? And then, like, it's funny, too. Okay, before we go to sleep, we're supposed to lie down. We're supposed to, like, get in bed an hour before we go to sleep, okay? If you want to watch some TV or read while you're lying down, then fine. You know, that actually works pretty well for me. Like, if I just decide I'm going to do something up until the time I'm supposed to go to bed, it's like, no, you're not going to go to sleep right away. That's the thing with insomnia, is if you're running yourself like a generator, you could have insomnia from that, because you definitely want to, like, have that, like, quiet alone time where you let all of that energy of everybody else out of your aura, right? Everybody else and the whole world, like, everything. All that stuff just, like, settle out. So you're just by yourself and, like, calm. you've got to have time to yourself every day. If you don't have some time to yourself every day, you will end up going crazy, right? That's why when I did TM, it was kind of useful because I would like meditate for 20 minutes twice a day by myself, and that was a good thing for me. Now, sometimes, a lot of times in the morning when I wake up, I'll go outside and put my feet on the ground, and that is a good way to ground the energy so that you're just connected to the earth and you're not like taking in people's energy right away in the morning. Right? Because like if you have people you live with, you go downstairs and you're like getting some coffee, and then you're like, oh, this is going on with them. Oh, that's going on with them. Oh, I feel this over here. Okay. So if you do live by yourself, it is actually can be a very good thing for you. Okay. As a projector. So just even if we'll talk about feeling like the whole invitation thing makes us feel lonely and rejected and a bunch of stuff, right? But when we get over that stuff emotionally, it becomes like a joy to be by yourself. Because I used to feel so abandoned and alone and stuff when I was by myself, and now I'm like so excited every time I'm by myself. So yeah, that actually. Oh, and if you get sick, this is from my recent experience. If you get sick, lock yourself in a room somewhere if you can. I mean, I don't mean like, because you have to be locked in. I mean like to keep other people from messing with your energy all the time, because you need to get better. You know, like you're gonna get better eventually. But if you keep doing things, if you keep trying to run yourself like a generator, okay, or if you keep like dealing with other people's problems, because we do that a lot too, right? Then it saps your energy and it makes it longer till you get better. So I was at my sister's house. There were all sorts of people there, but I was in a room by myself, and I was excited to be by myself too. And it was like so much easier, okay? Because I could just stay in bed too. That's the other thing. Other people, generators, when they're sick, sometimes they don't even seem sick to me. Sometimes, I mean, there's a hardiness there. Sometimes, you know, there's a sturdiness. I mean, they might say they feel really bad, but they're like walking around and doing stuff, you know? I mean, if I'm really sick, I'm like on my butt, you know? That's it.
I don't understand that because I don't get sick very often. So when somebody is sick, I just don't get how they're home sick. Because I just don't get sick like that.
Well, it's good that you don't get sick.
I
Just
think 'cause
make
I have
sure
a lot
that
of
you're being
downtime.
nice to yourself is all.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're being nice to yourself. Because if you're happy, then good. You know, like, just make sure that you're treating yourself well and treating your energy well. Because being a projector is a little bit more feminine than the masculinity of our patriarchal world, okay? So, like, putting out energy is really not an option, actually, for us. So you have the root motors, you have some energy there, like, you have some, but it comes in spurts, you know? The root motor energy is like, woo, I've got adrenaline, I can do this thing right now, you know? Or like, I'm up in the morning, I'm up, you know? But it's like, it doesn't last forever, is the thing. So whenever you can take little rests and stuff, you know?
I definitely do that.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're happy, okay, so we're going to go into that too, like, doing your dharma, doing your divine job, doing stuff that makes you happy, okay? If you don't do whatever it is that makes you happy, eventually it's just that you have no option, right? You're not a generator, so you can't keep going through your life like you're just here to make other people happy or something. I mean, this is the thing. We are kind of here to make other people happy, and we have to make ourselves happy first in order to do that. Okay, because we're here to give advice, to help generators, to do stuff for people, actually. But when we're invited, and the reason for that invitation thing is so that we are making ourselves happy first. We're giving ourselves energy first before we give it to anybody else. It doesn't work the other way around, right? So then everybody in this room know that? Like, oh yeah, I'm going to give you energy and then I'll go help myself. No. That's when you get sick. That's when you know. And maybe Shannon just has really good habits that way. I don't know. And if you have the immune system too, that's another good thing, you know. So, energy body things that you have, like objects you have in your house, can give you energy or take away energy, right? That's why I put crystals there. Also, there's stuff like feng shui, right? There's Projector. They're just like ways of arranging your house. That's really bad writing, but there's just different, ways of creating a good energy in your house, right? That stuff affects you guys because you're projectors. I mean, everybody's gonna enjoy it probably. It's not that everybody shouldn't do that stuff, but especially for projector, you just want to like up the areas where you're giving yourself energy. Okay, it's like the energy part is where you have trouble, but as far as like having clarity and knowing what's supposed to happen, you don't have as much trouble as other people in that area. Okay, that's why you should feel really good about yourself and up the areas where you're giving yourself energy. Okay, so you want to like look at what you have in your house. Is it giving you energy or is it taking away energy? What are the colors? Is it giving you energy or is it taking away energy? Color therapy is a whole thing too, right? You can even wear different colors and stuff. We had a whole class about the 7 sacred flames too, or you can use the energy of the sacred flames that are colors too. Grounding mats. We were talking about grounding mats, grounding yourself energetically to the earth somehow, like walking on the dirt barefoot, right? Time to self, absolutely imperative. You will feel so much better after you do it too. Usually you're like, oh, but I'm having a really good time with this person, right? And then after, when they leave, you're like, oh God, I'm really tired. Because you just did something for that person, even if they don't know it. And it's okay that you did that, but if you don't take care of it, it's like you guys came into this life with like the challenge of learning how to take care of yourself first before other people. It's almost like I feel like sometimes like maybe we had a little bit of a martyr complex, like, oh, I really want to help other people, or maybe we felt really guilty and we're like, I messed up in one of my past lives, so I'm going to be a projector, like I'm going to really help other people by cycling their energy through me and stuff, and you have a certain ability to like see that have the clarity to see what generators need, right? And that's why they will invite you, whether or not it's right now or eventually. They will invite you eventually. But you have to take care of yourself first and really just like, how can I love myself? How can I give myself energy? How can I take care of myself? Okay, that's the biggest question for you guys in your whole life, because taking care of other people is not that hard, actually. It's going to be easy once they invite you. You can easily see what needs to happen or help them in some way. Okay, so laying out things in your house. Stapachivit, yeah, time to self. Okay, so Dharma is doing your divine job on earth, right? Which is usually what makes people happy, okay? It doesn't have to look like anything in particular. Everybody's divine job is different. Everybody's is. It's never the same for two people, okay? But it's just like, if you're doing it, you feel good, and you get energy from that. You want to be in places where you get energy. You want to be around people where you get energy. You want to feel doing something that gives you energy when you do it. And you know that from, it doesn't have to be like physical energy. It could be like emotional energy or that feeling of like everything's totally right, You know what it is you're supposed to do. That's that feeling that gives you energy. If you have the ego center, please do not use that as energy. That's willpower, and you can will stuff to happen with that ego center. It's not real energy, though. And if you're a projector, it's not real energy. Like, you can try to make stuff happen just because you decide, like, this is going to happen. I'm going to make it happen. Okay, it's kind of a manifesterly type of situation, but it's like, you can make stuff happen, and then afterwards, because you're a projector, you're going to be really tired. Because if that's your only energy you're using, use it as like the will to like know what it is you want to do, create boundaries, create a plan, make it happen, but don't use it like it's going to happen, like this thing I want is going to happen no matter what it takes from me. You know what I mean? Don't do it that way. because I've done that a lot, and I always was sick afterwards. So, Dharma, divine job, gives you energy. Okay. Let's talk about the emotional and the mental. Okay. Emotional and mental ways of getting energy or managing your energy. So if you have an emotional motor, then this is different than if you don't, right? But it's super important. Okay. For that. So it's super important for projectors to give themselves energy in the emotional arena, okay? Because people project on you all the time, right? People come up and say, that thing didn't happen and it's your fault, actually, right? Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to happen that way. I'm just giving you an example. But there's a little bit of a feeling of like, why does this person all of a sudden hate me, you know? Right? And that can happen because you have your own, we talked about you have your own issues, other people have issues, they stick to each other, okay? So when they project on you, then you give them back that same energy, right? Especially if it got stuck to you because you have your own issues, then you give them back some of your emotional energy too, right? And then it just becomes a big mess of like emotional tangle with people, and it just messes with all the relationships. And then how do you get invited, right? So you gotta feel what's there, guys. Feel what's there without the story. Without the story. The story is what is keeping you in the emotional cycle. This is true for everybody. This is like true for everybody. It's just that for projectors, you need to do it more because a projector doesn't get away with anything. I think it's because we're supposed to be giving advice to generators. You know what I mean? Like, if we are teaching somebody something, because we love to be teachers, right? We're always teachers. And we have an emotional issue, it's going to be obvious, right? People, like if you're teaching them not to have that emotional issue or whatever it is, you're teaching them how to be an electrical engineer or whatever, but you have some thing where you don't understand it in some way, right? Okay? There's some part of that is people will feel it. People feel it right away. Because we are translucent. We are transparent. There's no sacral energy in our aura. We are not doing the same thing over and over again because of that. But we also are very clear. That we're clear for ourselves, but we're clear to other people too. People see themselves in us. Okay, they look at, like, I'm a generator, okay, and I look at Ben, and I'm like, oh, well, that guy has got tons of anger. Okay, obviously you saw how I just said that, right? I obviously have tons of anger, and that's why I just projected that on Ben. But it's like, it doesn't mean that Ben doesn't have it, because probably if he had dealt with his own feelings, then he could have, like, sidestepped that pretty easy, right? It probably wouldn't have happened quite that way. Like, somebody might say, Ben, are you angry? Instead, you know, because you dealt with your feelings. And he's like, no, I'm fine. Are you angry? Can I help you with that? Can I help you to, you know, get over whatever it is you need? They're like, oh, actually, yeah. Actually, you know. Do you see what I mean? There's, like, that difference because Ben has felt his feelings without the story. Okay. That's how it gets released. And I have a whole process for that, and that's my thing. So anybody who wants to come and do emotional processing with me, yay! You should get extra, you should get like a happy meal from the universe for doing that. But you don't have much choice because when you have emotional issues, it's really obvious to everybody, and they're always blaming everything on you. Then, okay, so it's like. Maybe that's another reason why we came in with this body. Maybe we were like, as projectors, like, well, I really want to make sure I don't have any, I want to get the inside figured out, you know? Because then you have to, because it's very clear to you and everybody else what's going on in there. Generators can like cover it up, you know. They're like, they can be like, oh no, I'm fine. I'm totally happy, right? You're like, but as a projector, you're like, I'm not sure that's true, actually. You know, because you like feel something else going on with them. You know, you can feel it if you step in their aura, especially. Oh, it's frustration or something. Because generators get frustrated, and that's the most likely thing. They're like, they're going, they do the same thing over and over again. They're on a certain level of evolution, okay? And then they hit a brick wall because they need to go up to the next level, okay? The projector is like watching this, and they're like, oh, I see where you need to go, okay? And the generator doesn't want to hear it unless they asked you for your help, right?
That's right.
So if you see a generator getting frustrated, you can go, note to self, this person needs this. Okay, and then walk the other direction or whatever, wait until they invite you. Because eventually they will, actually, probably. If you wait for the invitation, it's amazing sometimes how it really actually happens, you know? But you have to wait a long time sometimes. And sometimes you just have to wait and do the next person, you know? Like just, sometimes it's not that person is never going to invite you, but every projector has a group of people that they're supposed to help in this lifetime. That's what I've come, that's the kind of realization I've come to from being an intuitive projector, is everybody has a different amount of people. You have your own peeps, okay? And if you're supposed to help them, they're going to invite you, especially if you don't get in the way of the invitation, right? We're going to talk about getting in the way of the invitation in a second. So, you have people you're supposed to help. You don't know for sure maybe who they are or not, but you're going to feel really good when they invite you, okay? That's who you're supposed to help. Now, sometimes we get confused, too, because the invitation thing, I'm not going to go into it quite yet, because we're almost done with this part, but the invitation thing can be confusing, right? Because you feel like you want to accept every invitation. That's not necessarily true either. Don't do that. You gotta feel really good about the invitation. You gotta feel that good feeling when they invite you. Okay, you wanna feel lit up, recognized. People really understand, appreciate, totally, like, respect who you are. Okay, so on the mental level, it's pretty much similar to the emotional that we just talked about. Deal with the issues, because, especially if you have the open head center, okay? If you've got an emotional motor, make sure you're always observing what's the feeling I'm feeling, because observing feelings with emotional motor, because generators who are around you, their energy is going to go through your sacral motor, and it's going to come out with your emotional energy attached to it for them. Do you understand that? So it's like, if you're an emotional projector, then you're giving them back their own energy in a certain flavor. You're giving them back their own energy of a flavor. Okay, and that has a lot to do with sometimes how they react to you or whether they think they like you or whatever, right? Because you have this flavor. Now, if it's just the universal flavor, you're not interfering with it, you're not repressing it and saying it's bad. If you're just like, okay, this is how I feel right now, then maybe they're like, oh, cool, I just got like this cool flavor of energy from this person, you know? Because that's how it feels cool, is when it's not rejected and repressed, okay? When it's like, oh no, I don't want to feel this, so then their feelings go, their energy comes in through you, you give it back to them with this feeling of, I don't want to feel this. Do you see the feeling of that? It's like, oh, and then you're also going to get blamed for more stuff, probably, too, right? So emotional projectors a little bit tricky. Emotional manifestors are tricky, too. It's you really got to figure out the emotional thing to be an emotional projector or manifestor. That is the biggest challenge usually for that. If you have an open head center, you need to deal with your beliefs. Because you have the beliefs of society, and the beliefs of society are not good. Conditioning, right? Major conditioning. And usually there's feelings attached to all those beliefs too. So even though you don't have the emotional center, maybe you have an open head center, you still have feelings that are attached to all those beliefs. Like I showed you with my circle graph. Okay, so doing things that make you happy are good, okay? Avoiding stuff because you don't want to feel feelings is different than doing stuff that makes you happy. Do you guys see that? If you're avoiding stuff because you don't want to feel feelings, then you're repressing feelings, and then you're creating a problem for you, yourself. You're creating a blockage, an energy blockage, okay? If you're doing stuff that makes you happy and feeling whatever feeling happens to be there, then you're creating good energy for yourself, and you're not repressing things. Do you guys get that? Okay. With the mental, you gotta start having, okay, we could say good beliefs, but ideally, I think the ideal is that you don't have any beliefs. You just reflect God in your own individual snowflake way, which is completely individual to each one of you. I know that sounds really like I'm in preschool or something, individual snowflakes, but I mean, you are totally different, and when I say you shouldn't have any beliefs, you should just reflect God, I don't want you to feel like, oh, so we're all going to be the exact same person or something, and, you know, it's not like that. It's just that you don't have any beliefs, you don't have any baggage, you don't have any rigid structure getting in the way of anything. It's just totally flexible, you know? You can enjoy anything then. You can enjoy every experience. You can get whatever you need to get out of life. Okay. So those are ways of giving yourself energy. The other way of giving yourself energy is, of course, to wait for the invitation. Now, when you wait for the invitation, it can get boring, right? Or maybe you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to make any money. Or maybe you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to have any friends. Or maybe, right? We could go on with this. When you wait for the invitation, you need to work on your specialty. Because as a projector, you have a specialty in life that you're here to teach or help people with. Okay? And if you work on your specialty while you're waiting for the invitation, then you just get better and better and better at it, and you become a master, right? So then, let's say you're like a kung fu expert, you know, and nobody wants to be your student yet, so you're just like, fine, I'm just going to work on my kung fu skills then. So you do your kung fu skills until you're a master, and then when you do get invited, you are a really good kung fu teacher, okay? And everybody who comes to your class is not going to go to anybody else. They're going to stay with you, right? And then when you find your people by them inviting you. So you work on your specialty until you're a master, and then you do things to get recognized, but not in a way where you're getting in the way of the invitation, okay? That is why I like things like websites, writing, making art, taking pictures, because they don't involve being in the generator's energy. If you're doing things to show off what you're good at, just do them in a way that's not right in the middle of the generator's energy, because usually they can tell you're trying to get recognized and invited, and then they're like, okay, man, like, chill out. Get out of my aura. So the projector, get recognized by websites, books or stories or poems, art. You could take pictures of whatever you're working on or whatever you're good at, right? You could work on things that are material that are not, like, that you can show to a generator and that don't require you to be in their field.
You know, that's a really good example, because at work, we have these two windows that are just blank, and for Halloween, I drew these scary pictures, And so my manager, who's the manager of everybody in the office, he liked them so much, he told me those 2 windows are mine. So it's like, okay, now the pressure's on.
And you're like,
So
oh,
I
I've
had
got 2
to-
windows.
I did like a Thanksgiving one, so now I've got to do one for Christmas.
Oh, so you were like happy at first, but now you're like, oh god.
Well, yeah, actually, it's like, okay, now I've got to make it better than the last time.
Oh,
and,
so
you
you're
know,
pressuring yourself. Yeah. Okay.
and make sure it's perfect.
Oh,
you know.
that's a good thing. Thank you for saying that, actually. Okay. All right. We gotta stop pressuring ourselves. Because this is almost always. We gotta stop. So, when I say stop, I don't mean, like, just stop yourself, because that doesn't really work, okay? I just mean stop the habit by doing something that actually works, which is usually by really being aware of what's happening and totally accepting it. So stop feeling guilty also. Because once we feel and release our guilt, then we stop interfering energetically with people inviting us. Okay? If we're feeling guilty or if we're pressuring ourselves, it starts to get in the way of people recognizing and appreciating us.
That's something I actually had to overcome because, like, people would come in to my office and tell me that they really liked it. It's like, oh, it's really not that good. And then it's like, okay, I need to stop that and just accept it
Yeah.
for what it is.
Yeah. That's a good thing for energy, right? Is to accept your praise. Like, that's in the emotional body, though. That's in the mental and emotional body, right? Mental and emotional. Projectors should always receive any money, praise, or love that comes at them, okay? Because we're receiving all your guys' bad energy out there, right? So we gotta receive all the good stuff too. And if we have issues in here that might be preventing us from receiving the good stuff, then all we're getting is the bad stuff. And that's not fun. I just got really theatrical there, but so you gotta learn how to receive money, praise, and love, okay? I don't mean like receive love like get married to any old person who pops a ring. I don't mean it like that. I just mean somebody. Michelle's laughing. I know some of you better than others, but I've worked with most of you a little bit, you know. And when you receive love, you just open your heart and you just know that you're worth it, right? It's different than like, yes, I will go with you to Paris or whatever. Because that can be a problem, because that's when we get into accepting any old invitation, right? Really don't want to do that. When we accept any old invitation, we end up in situations where we can't get out or something, right? Like we're kind of like, oh man, this isn't actually where I want to be. How am I going to get out of this, right? So we gotta make sure we feel really good about the invitation, and maybe we've gone through the emotional cycle and we like really have thought about, like, it's good for projector to kind of like hold off on stuff, especially romantic things, for a while. Like date the person for a while, you know. Don't make extreme commitment, you know, decisions yet until you know for sure, okay? Because some of us, I don't know what your profiles are. I'm a 1-3, so I do everything and then look back on it and say, oh, that didn't work. So now everybody, I can teach you what didn't work, you know? So, don't think that just because you get an invitation that you have to accept it. We think that because we sometimes spend tons of time by ourselves, you know? And then it's like somebody invites you to do something and it's like, thank God, you know? And it's okay if it's like a non-major commitment thing. Like, if you just need to get out of your house and somebody invited you to go to the coffee shop, then do it, you know? Like, sometimes you just need to get out and not be, like, so internal all the time. And if somebody says, hey, I want you to help me out, or I want you to, I'm going to use like business as a good example, like, hey, why don't you be a business partner with me, okay? You're going to have to think about that decision for a while, right, because that's a little bit of commitment. But what tends to happen is there's like this up-leveling thing. Sometimes you up-level, even though you have a certain amount of people I think that you're supposed to work with from the beginning, from before you were born, I think you up-level your whole situation, your whole life, you know? Like you keep, so the people or the place that you're in is like good for a while, you know? Or like your boyfriend even, maybe he's good for a while. And then you need to up-level. And then you have to wait for the invitation and be lonely, right? And then you get better people and better situation and better money and better work. You can put anything in there, okay? It's good for everything. So that's the way that we go. I mean, it's slightly different than the generator way because the generator way is like getting frustrated and then kind of being forced up to the next level. And then they're like super awesome. They're super happy when they get up there, you know? And then after a while, it starts getting frustrating again. And then they need to go up to the next level again. And we're the ones who could see usually that stuff, but we have to be invited because that way, because they're super evolved generators, right? And there's projectors who are like, not so evolved, okay? And there's manifestors who are like, not so evolved. And you can say it a lot of different ways, okay? So it's not that people are spiritually superior or inferior by being any of these things. It's just that projectors are supposed to help generators. They're supposed to help some population of generators of some kind. And manifestors are supposed to tell people what to do. And they have to learn, if they're emotional, not to do it from an emotional place. And and they need to tell people what needs to happen and stuff. Projectors, usually, if a manifestor tells a projector what to do, we're like, yeah, actually I can see why we're supposed to do that. Okay, that's the feeling you get with a manifestor usually. It's not that generator feeling where you're getting energy from them. It's like a clear feeling of like, there's no energy here, but I can see how what you're saying is true, you know? That's why only manifestors usually tell me what to do. And they're the only ones I'm worried about if they're mad at me or something, you know? Okay. So waiting for the invitation is a way of getting more energy because you're not expending energy by getting in people's aura, getting in their business, telling them what they need to do, trying to help them when you have no energy, or trying to give them your energy when you have no energy, right? Do you get the idea? That's a lot of the time what we're doing when we're not following our strategy. We're like, hey, let me drive you to the airport. Guess what, guys? Probably projectors are not the people that should be driving other people to the airport. Sometimes, but not, like, as a job, okay? Not as a, like, regular thing you do with all your friends. Because we probably are more likely to have information for our friends that could really help them, and we need them to invite us to give it to them, right? And that can be hard because they're your friends, so there's, like, a difference there as far as other people. With other people, maybe they invite you easier. With friends, maybe they're like, oh, they're my friend, though, I don't want to ask them for advice, though. But that's not really cool, because a good friendship would be like, you both ask each other for advice, right? I don't know. It's not like you guys can't ask generators for advice. You can. It's just, make sure it's a generator that's also invited you, you know, so that it's appreciated and equal and, like, you're being respected, you know? So, waiting for the invitation gives you energy, because while you're waiting, you can rest and you can work on your specialty. You can work on the thing you're good at. And, like, really work on yourself. Get rid of your emotional and mental stuff, right? That way, when you get invited, you're, like, ready. Okay. Okay. Time for questions or comments. Some things I don't know until you ask me, so, you know what I mean? I'm a tutor authority, so there's much more information in here. I just don't.
Can we Do our pets affect us in any way like that?
Dogs do give positive energy. So even though it's good energy, you're still getting something from the dog that you're cycling through you.
Right. What
You know.
if you have dogs and cats?
Then you're getting both, right? Like you're getting your negative energy taken away, and you're getting positive energy. Just for me in general, I find that dogs can be kind of a little exhausting because you have to take care of them so much. But that's me. I mean, if you get happy, if it makes you happy, you know, truly happy, and you feel like you get energy from it, then good. I'm laughing at Michelle because she has a really large dog that she has to like seriously work with all the time for him to do what he's supposed to do.
I have
so in that
two old dogs that I have to work extra hard for one of them because he just is old, and so he takes a lot of energy.
In that case, I would get like a dog whisperer person or a dog therapist or somebody to come and help you, you know? Get somebody to come and
no, he's fine. He's old.
Okay.
That's the only thing. It's like
Okay.
he can't see that well. He can't hear.
So you have to do stuff for him.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just all that extra caretaking can be hard on us, that's all.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if you're doing that, then you just, I guess you prioritize
It's
that
only
above.
until he dies.
Yeah, and it's like you
Yeah.
prioritize that above other things that
Right.
you'd be putting energy into, so.
I got a dog because nobody else was asking me for help, so why does this dog need help?
Oh god, so you got a charity case dog because you couldn't help people.
Oh, she's so hyper.
Oh man. See, you really gotta,
Too funny.
I think, get somebody to come help you train him or whatever, you know?
Well, it's getting there.
Yeah.
I am getting through to her little by little, but it's just.
Yeah.
At first it was
mine
like-
supposed to be medium, and he's like this. He's a Great Pyrenees Anatolian Shepherd, which I didn't know. I didn't know when I went and got him, but
I know what that
I
is.
drove
That's
3
all.
hours to get him, and then they put him in my arms.
Thank
So
you,
I
and
adopted
visit my
him.
website at Hillary's Elements of